Good evening, residents, and welcome to this episode of Nightmare Nobodies. I am Timothy, and I'm joined by my friend Sam as we get together to discuss horror movies. Find a seat as we begin the gathering.
Hello, Tim.
How are you?
Pretty good. A little tired.
Oh, good. Listen, it is an evening edition of the show for us tonight, so we might be a little bit more low energy, which is all right because Michael Myers is low energy.
Michael Myers is mute.
Low energy, yeah. I mean, he walks real slow. Shall we give our little disclaimers before we get into the meat and potatoes of this?
Yeah, so the meat and potatoes of this week, as with every week, will have spoilers. If you have somehow not seen the 1978 Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, first off, where have you been? Secondly, go watch it and then come back and see how many times you disagree with us throughout this podcast.
Yeah.
Pretty
what
much
she
it.
said. I can't add anything to that. It's a fabulous film, and if you haven't seen it yet, definitely it's a for sure Halloween movie. Not even just due to the name, but just with everything going on in it. So that is your warning. Get out now if you do not wish to be spoiled. All right, get ready to be spoiled. So,
well, we can't get into the meat and potatoes of this without your synopsis.
Oh, yes.
You must read the synopsis, courtesy of IMDb.
Indeed. I somehow managed to separate both of my scripts. My notes and my script, so I was floundering for a second there. I'm so sorry. I completely had a brain fart. It has been a remarkable day indeed. All right. The synopsis. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night in 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, to kill again. We're keeping that one in because doggone it, that was... It's thinking of Farmville for some reason, I guess.
Farmville or Smallville?
No, I never watched Smallville, but I definitely played Farmville a lot.
Never watched Smallville. You've never seen Schitt's Creek. Come on, Tim.
I am a hermit to the most.
Yeah, but
annoying.
See that doesn't mean that you don't watch things. That means that Tim only watches British things.
It also means I watch primarily YouTube videos. That's not doing anything good for my brain.
That's also true.
Yeah. So there's the expose of me. I'm not very good at watching things, and I'm very behind in modern culture. So if you're wondering what my kind of input is based off of, there you go.
Your input is based off of Doctor Who, Blake 7, and Red Dwarf?
No, actually.
No?
Not
I
yet.
thought you've seen it.
I've seen like an episode, but that was way back when I wasn't into it.
Hey, I'm
might
just
be now.
amazed I know the name of it.
Right. So, where did we get that synopsis from, Sam?
IMDb.
Fabulous. I don't know if I've asked that already. I
said
absolutely a
it
goldfish. Already. Fabulous. Goldfish Timothy has arrived and doing very well.
It's past your bedtime.
Ugh.
Mind you, we're recording this at like 7 p.m.
Yeah, Central
and
Time.
It's past your bedtime.
It really is. So, where do we want to start today's discussion, do you think? Do we want to start off by immediately talking about Laurie and her importance and impact on the greater world of slashers?
Yeah, why not?
All right. So, Laurie is our lead character She's played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And apologies in advance. You will hear my cat screaming at me because it is time for him to feed soon. So he may come by and bother me a little bit before then. But
we like cats.
We love cats. So Laurie, the movie, we are introduced to Laurie when she is leaving her house for school. And we find out she's a babysitter. She's got friends. She seems like a pretty well put together kind of gal. You know, she takes her, sounds ridiculous saying this out loud, but she takes her books to school. You know, she's actively participating in her education.
It matters to her.
It matters because her two other friends that she's with in this film, Annie and Linda, who are played by Nancy Kyes
and PJ Souls.
Those two characters were more of a kind of hedonistic sort of path compared to Laurie. You know, they were all talking about meeting up with their boyfriends that night, having some time with them, and breaking up with them or whatever. You know, boy drama is the point. And Laurie didn't really participate.
They were talking about drinking and all that jazz too.
Breaking the rules of the slasher.
Establishing the rules of the slasher.
Establishing and breaking them, yes. So Laurie being these kind of pillars of a good character puts her into a good spot in terms of everything, even though she is sort of the main target of Michael in this movie.
All because wrong place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. And so, like, throughout the movie, Laurie is, like, sort of looking around, you know, kind of noticing as she goes about her day, noticing that she's being followed by Michael. And it's funny because she sees Michael, but neither of her friends did. Neither Linda or Annie did. Ever.
Right.
And I... What?
I think Linda did. Granted, he was in a sheet.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that was... Whew. That whole scene where Michael was downstairs and it was Linda's boyfriend, right, Paul?
Yes.
Yeah, so he, like, stabs Paul. No.
Paul is Annie's boyfriend. I do not remember the name of Linda's boyfriend.
Linda's boyfriend, the dude with the van and the glasses who looks like he's 20 dating a 16-year-old.
Who clearly doesn't look like a 16-year-old. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. None of the kids in this movie, except for, like, Tommy and, like, the other girl, look like kids. But Michael kills Linda's boyfriend and stabs him against the wall and steals his glasses, puts on a bed sheet to look like a ghost, to come upstairs to terrorize a naked Linda in bed before he kills her.
I like it. When you see him in that sheet, you know she's going to die. The tension isn't, is he going to kill her? It's when.
Or how.
You know, by that point, you know it's just he's going to stab her.
Well, I mean, yes, it's assumed with a knife, but, you know, you're kind of wondering, is it going to be as brutal as the boyfriend downstairs? Is he going to do something similar, or is it going to be completely different?
Yeah.
So, and it's hard because it's hard to see, like, talking about the first movie, because I also kind of want to talk about the 2018 Halloween movie.
I fell asleep.
I really enjoyed it, and it still continues.
I watched it in the theaters with a friend, and we passed out.
Oh, I mean, listen, I I was on a date with someone at the time, and we made Activia jokes. So every time she was on screen, we'd be like, "My Activia," and then she'd take off running. It's great. We we had a great time with the movie. It was fantastically brutal, but nothing could beat the original.
Yes.
But Laurie's intelligence really pays off because she does her best to also protect the children.
Yes, she keeps her promise to Tommy.
Mm-hmm. Because she, there's a scene where Michael is in their house, or in Tommy's house, where Tommy, and the other little girl, Lindsay, there you go. I knew it started with an L. Lindsay was dropped off, who Annie was watching.
Yes. So Annie dropped her off so that Annie could go pick up Paul.
And then
before Linda and Bob showed up.
Mm-hmm. And we never got to see Paul. Annie died in her car when she was trying to get to Paul's, huh?
Yes. So Paul and Laurie are technically the only survivors, even though Paul didn't exist at all.
In a physical sense. I feel that. I do. Yeah, so that's interesting. I never actually, it's like you hear about Paul a couple of times in the film, and then you just sort of forget about him. He's like, oh, well, who's Paul? What do you think?
I think that this movie set up the final girl trope for decades to come.
Agreed.
Still to this day, there are slasher movies with that same final girl concept.
Mm-hmm.
Pure, sure. Smart, and selfless.
Yeah, those are definitely great descriptors. Yeah, because I'm gonna try and stop talking about Laurie, because Laurie is just the opposite of Annie and Linda.
That's the point.
And it's so, I just find it so interesting.
But it's also common in suburbia for there to be that friendship dynamic between girls in school. You always have the one that's like the goody two shoes, that's afraid to get in trouble, that's not going to do anything wrong. And then the best friend who is the complete opposite. You see it in all the like horror movies.
Yep.
But you see it in like day-to-day life, like in actual like real life, which is why it's relatable.
Yeah, and it's kind of mind-blowing. I watched what was it on Netflix? I watched over last weekend. I watched a movie called Mama, and I can't tell you a doggone actor's name in there because I don't have any sort of information written down about it because I'm awful like that.
Because you weren't preparing to review it.
No, but I just wanted to share that this is still like the girl who survives trope is still in Ma. It's about these teenagers that go over to a woman's house to do what teenagers do, is kind of let loose and have fun. She lets them party there. And the main girl that you follow through this, the teenage girl that you're kind of following through this whole movie, she's a lot like Laurie. She's new to town. She's very nice. She's like, kind of the good girl of the movie. And then she's got that best friend who is, more than happy to do shots and always just kind of looking for her next boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. And it's nice to see that they can interchange, especially like interchange the genders of these tropes, if that makes sense too, because it doesn't always have to be a girl who survives, but it's Laurie, the girl who survived, the one that started it all. So I kind of like it seeing the legacy going on for this long.
Yeah. So speaking of this legacy going on this long, we have Laurie, who is a big part of why it goes on this long. But the star of it, Michael Myers, who is absent from other movies in the franchise, but we'll talk about that when we get to those movies. Because it is a point. It is a sticking point for me.
Yeah.
is also groundbreaking in a lot of ways. He changed. It's not just Laurie that changed the slasher scene, or story, so to speak. Because before this, we had like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and why am I drawing a blank on other slashers before then? I guess there weren't a whole lot, but they were just chaotic and deranged. Whereas Michael Myers, while neurotic and deranged in his own ways, it was always calm. There was an eerie calm. There is an eerie calm about Michael Myers.
Yeah.
With the fact that he doesn't talk. He doesn't emote hardly at all. There's one point that I can think of in the movie, and it's when he kills Bob. And you see him stand there with Bob like stuck to the wall, and he just does that head tilt.
Yeah. It was kind of
like he's admiring his work.
Yeah. I mean, even when Laurie ripped his mask off in the great fight before Dr. Loomis came in, he didn't say anything. There was not even like a
I don't like that either, by the way.
What? That he didn't even
That is a big point. That is a big sticking point for me. I do not like that she took his mask off.
Oh. I mean, when you're thrashing like that, sometimes your hands just start ripping at things.
Yes, which is fair. However, I don't like that you see Michael's face.
We don't see a lot of it, though. I don't even remember what it looks like.
You see it first. You see it just long enough to see it. You see it just long enough to know he's a man. Part of the mystery of Michael Myers, even though you know that he is a man, is he a man or is he supernatural? Is he this screwed up because he's this screwed up?
I see now.
Is he possessed?
I was like, surely Sam's not getting mad because we can determine the gender of Michael, but
we can determine his gender of Michael just based on his chest alone.
Wait, let me finish. You're not mad at Michael because you can base his gender, but you're mad at Michael because you can base of his origin, that he's a human. And so I understand what you're saying now, and I kind of agree with that. Because he does sort of feel like he's supernatural with just
he does
all the garbage he's able to go through.
Yes. Like he gets shot, falls out of a window and walks away.
A second floor window. And I'm supposed to
believe, yes, a second floor window. And I'm supposed to believe that he can just miraculously do this, having just seen his human face.
Yep.
Little nitpicky, but
sometimes it happens.
We are sharing our opinions here.
That's the whole point of this. It's like it's fabulous, and I love that this is still very much a movie that's kind of delved into even to this day. It's
yes.
How long? I mean, I know Funko Pop just released a couple of cute pops for Michael during this anniversary.
I need them.
Did you see the one with the bush? And he's like poking. I was like, hey girl, what's going on?
No, I want that.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry. We're taking a quick moment to let me send this to Sam because I saved the picture of it. And it's because it's so doggone cute.
I need it in my life. Tim will insert a picture of it on the screen for those of you that watch it on YouTube. For those of you that don't, Google is wonderful. You can find it there.
Yes. Oh, okay. So it's the anniversary is for Funko, who's been making toys for 25 years. I'm so sorry. All I saw was an anniversary, and I knew this year would have been an anniversary for this movie. But I can't do math, and I know there's a 5 somewhere in there, so...
It's 45.
Great, thank you. Listen, I got halfway there.
Calculators are a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah, but that requires going into my phone. Let's discuss Michael a little bit further. Because in Halloween, when we arrive at the hospital with Dr. Loomis and the nurse, everyone has escaped, but Michael manages to get onto leap onto the car and manhandle his way in there and then get control of the car.
Right.
Which I don't know if anyone who's not a crackhead can do anything like that. You know? And I'm not entirely sure that I buy that a mute mental patient like Michael Myers could feasibly just suddenly just go ham and spider monkey his way across a car
and then drive 150 miles back to his hometown.
That too. Yeah, he had been in prison. Not prison, but he had been in hospital for 15 years. And it was referenced later on by Dr. Loomis, who's been giving him driving lessons.
Yeah.
Because if you've never done it before, night driving in rain, I'm sure it was raining, because wasn't it raining when they were driving up?
It was raining.
So it's difficult to drive in rain at night. It's like, who? How? Why?
Yeah.
So I do...
Suspension of disbelief.
Oh, I mean, that too, but I do honestly think that there may be some sort of Pazuzu-esque thing going on with Michael here.
Possibly.
I mean, only name dropping Pazuzu just for a good example.
Yes. Start that over.
You can say that you like something in this movie, even if it's dark and gross.
No, I like a lot of things in this movie. I do think it was clever to have very piercing music whenever she would see Michael.
Yeah, that kind of anxiety note.
In the sheets outside.
Oh, yeah, the clothesline. Oh, my God.
Also, there's a correlation between Tommy and Laurie. Because Tommy is tells Laurie a couple different times, there's the boogeyman, I saw the boogeyman. And she minimizes it and basically says, no, he didn't. Which is the exact same thing that Annie and Linda, specifically Annie, did to her when she was like, I keep seeing this guy. And Annie's like, nah, you're full of crap. You just need to get laid. That's basically what she told her.
Oh my God, dude. That really grinds my gears, because I'm like, Laurie, you've been seeing this dude watch you all day. And now you're sitting there. Oh, well, the boogeyman doesn't exist. Who has been looking at you, girl? Is that the milkman? Is it the Schwann's guy? We were talking about John Carpenter's music and the anxiety notes that he would hit when Laurie would see Michael.
Yes.
He really, I don't know if there's an actual term for the anxiety noises he makes, but they're all synth based keyboard beep boop, kind of noise, and it's so good.
Keyboard. That sounded like you just said keyboard robot noises. That's what I got from that when you were like beep boop.
Yes, good.
What did you think? What part of his score or soundtrack or whatever it's called was your favorite?
I mean, I love the intro music. I can't hum it right now.
I can't hum it ever. So.
Right, but it's a din in it.
You just tried.
I just tried and I gave up. All right. If you've
it's
ever
your
heard...
Beetlejuice boomhauer all over.
How about you, Sam? What is? I mean, other than scary notes, any favorite music?
No, I really enjoyed what I was talking about earlier. Every time you would see Michael, like
Mm-hmm.
in the sheets, or like when Loomis looked out the window when he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I liked those.
There's something about John Carpenter and his music that's just excellent and just getting right to your bone in your fears.
Yes.
And that's,
I love that.
I have a big spot for John Carpenter. I love The Thing. I know I feel like I keep talking about The Thing. Holy crap. Which was referenced. This movie came out before John Carpenter's The Thing, but this movie, Halloween, also references the original 1950s movie that he based The Thing off of.
They're watching it in both of the houses, in Lindsay and in Tommy's house.
Yep. It's called The Thing from Another World. And the book it was adapted from was Who Goes There?
Nice. Nice.
So I knew I had those somewhere. I just needed a second to find my paper.
I want to know what your favorite scene in the movie was.
I think it has to be. I think about this a lot. this moment of the movie a lot, and I don't know why. But it's the scene where Laurie's in class, and the teacher's talking, and she's just kind of looking out the window, and just looking to look, and she sees Michael out there, and he's gone, and she's just like, but it's one of those things where it's such an innocent activity, gazing out the window while in school, and you just kind of get lost in thoughts, and then all of a sudden you see someone standing there staring at you, and you're like, I don't know if this is normal or not. And it successfully makes me feel like I'm being watched at that point in the movie. And it's like, it's kind of, it raises the hairs on your neck, and because he shortly moves on from that point.
Right.
He gets in his car and he takes off. And so it's, I don't know how else to explain it. It's just, it gets me.
So that scene made me laugh because
yeah,
she is so intent on watching what's going on outside.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed, and also like, but really, that she heard the question her teacher asked.
I didn't.
We didn't. We weren't supposed to.
Oh, good. Okay. I was like, I don't even remember. I was too busy being afraid.
It's kind of like, I guess, like a three-way tie for me. There are three scenes that I like. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy when he kills Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he kills Bob.
No.
But
afterwards.
The admiration of his work. I find just that subtle movement to be really terrifying. I find the ghost Michael to be hilarious. And then the bone-chilling, probably the most bone-chilling for me part in the whole thing is at the end when Loomis looks out the window and Michael's gone. Michael has escaped in suburbia, right? So, like, you move to the suburbs from the city because it's supposed to be safer. Mm-hmm. And yet this happened on Halloween, and he's on the loose to do it again should he choose. And so, like, that super simple decision feels really heavy and, like, frightening, especially as, like, someone in, my 30s who has children. And so, like, even now it, like, hits a little different. Like, before, when I watched it as a kid, I was like, I'm done babysitting, man. And I'm paid enough for this. Now I'm like, oh crap, my daughter could be a babysitter. I'm done with this. Again, just in a very different context. I'll pay her to stay home.
No, I understand that. I lived in very urban areas and very downtowny areas for a while, and I finally gave that up, and I'm kind of living in like a rural, like small town kind of area now, and it does put a strange fear into me of like kind of like Jeepers Creepers-esque, but better, in that it's like, yeah, there's always some weird crap going on out here, but that it's not gonna be malicious.
Right, it's like people driving their tractors to the store or something.
Yeah, stuff
or maybe
like that.
that's just where I live.
No, they do that here. You got people walking around the grocery store with their spurs on still, You got jingle jangles in there. So it's good. I get it. Yeah. No, but if I were to see someone like Michael just kind of, if I saw the same car just kind of floating around the same like 3 areas,
yeah.
But it doesn't live in that area,
right?
I'd get suspicious.
Exactly.
So it is also very effective of a horror movie in that regard as well, in that it is kind of like a societal scare.
Yeah, like it brings it home. It brings it to your neighborhood. Like, and especially back then, that wasn't super common.
No, I mean, even 30, 40 years ago, people were still like, communities were still big in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
People would just come on over for a cup of coffee and let them in through the back door and just, hey, what's up, Susan? I'm here for my cup of Joe. And you just sit there and gossip. And it's like, you can't do that these days.
No.
And so I definitely feel like as time progresses and we continue to rewatch Halloween, I think it will continue to be scary, because it's like, even if you were to shoot someone somewhere in their abdomen or arms, and they were to fall out a second floor window, you'd think that they would need an ambulance to at least scoop them up, shovel them up off the ground and get them to a morgue or something.
They may survive, but they're not going to walk away.
No. And that's how Michael got away. Michael does not run.
No.
He's not a marathon sprinter by any means.
Not at all.
All right. So I think this would be the perfect time for us to kind of scoot our little backsides over to our next segment, which is going to be kind of a newer thing we might start incorporating into the show. So what are we going to do is one of us will go and delve into the archives of the internet and dig up as many relevant and interesting reviews as we can find. So we will have we will try and cite where we get these from when we can. But don't hold your breath on it. It may just be changing where we get it from and if we say it or not. Just because we're kind of scatterbrained sometimes. You know how it is.
So this week, I found a thread on Reddit that I found interesting, and some people made some fun, interesting points. Sometimes Reddit's amazing when it comes to horror. Sometimes it's just
poo-poo,
popcorn worthy.
Interesting. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
So, yeah. This week, it was interesting. So, one Reddit poster started a thread, and they said, I watched this Halloween the other day, and while I realize it basically set the tone for slashers in later years, the 80s, Jamie Lee Curtis was nearly the only competent actor in the whole thing, and the only thing that impressed me was the atmosphere created by dark interior scenes. Otherwise, I don't really know what places this above later slashers. I also read that the film initially received largely negative reviews, but later on was largely regarded as a classic of the horror genre.
Wow. Yeah, That packed a couple of punches.
So I feel that this person did a slight disservice to one actor in particular, Donald Pleasance.
Golly, he's fabulous.
He is. And while he
played
did
Dr.
not...
Loomis.
Yeah, sorry. Dr. Loomis. While it's reported that he wasn't the biggest fan of some of the choices and would frequently show up drunk, again, allegedly, he was awesome. I thought he was great. But yes, aside from him and Jamie Lee Curtis, I do not disagree with this comment at all.
I was gonna say, I'm like, those two were like the straight actors, and like Michael was just like the moving prop through the whole film in terms of all of this, I guess, if you want to put it like that. It's kind of funny.
So I'm going to read you little excerpts from different responses to this person. So,
okay.
And I'm doing this strictly for us to like discuss. Like, do you agree or do you disagree? So someone else said, it destroyed the idea of the safe suburbs and made them just as potentially terrifying as the inner city of films like Death Wish or the fear of the rural as in Deliverance or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Suddenly, the suburbs became the playground for countless killers in films and a potential haven for evil and violent danger.
Yeah. Wow. And we kind of touched on that. I mean, not the whole like Deliverance or Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing, but we did touch on the whole like suburban horror.
Right.
Because, I mean, when did like suburbs were kind of a thing? Like they weren't really a thing until like the 70s or 80s, right?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well,
I feel like John Wayne Gacy, notorious serial killer from the 70s, I believe. 70s and 80s, just the 70s, one of the two.
Yep.
He lived in a suburb.
Mm-hmm. He did indeed. It was definitely like the mid to late 70s. I'm fairly certain.
Okay. So this next one.
Sorry, I'm trying to... No, hang on. I just want to say I was trying to look up to see about the like the suburban migration, but I mean, like definitely during the 70s and 80s, I'm sure like suburbs really started to explode.
Now I don't know
like
what
cities
it's
got
like.
Bigger and stuff like that.
Yeah, and now it's like more suburbs than like urban. I feel like
it's pretty nuts because it's like it's like miles and miles of just suburb and condos.
Okay, so
anyways, please continue. Go to the small one.
This next one says, after spending the whole film with these kids in their homes and neighborhood, when it's all over, the danger is loose, and we end on shots of other silent homes. The implied question being, what other quiet, unassuming home could be the next victim? Halloween is also a masterclass in slow, creeping horror. Yes, it has the slasher titillation at times, but most of its runtime is spent on slow build up of tension, paranoia, and dread. It presents the idea that Michael could be anywhere, around any corner, watching, waiting.
Wow.
I mean,
slow creeping terror.
It's true, and it articulated very well what I tried to say earlier in my sleepy stupor.
Yes.
This next one, I feel like we can actually have a little discussion on, or at least I can say something on. Mm-hmm. So it says, but it created a genre that dumbed down its antagonists. Norman Bates in Hitchcock's Psycho had a backstory that made him feel like a fully fleshed out human being. The bad guys in slashers
wow.
feel like supernatural specters. They are presented as an archetype of pure evil. Is there a point to this, or do they fill in for general anxieties in contemporary life? Edit, I probably should have said one-dimensional rather than dumbed down, as I wasn't meaning to imply all slashers are inherently dumb.
Thank goodness for the edit.
I don't feel like every villain needs nor deserves a backstory. I don't want an origin story on every bad guy. I don't want to feel bad for a bad guy. That's one of the things that I love about the Joker in the comics. He has no origin story. Every time an origin story is told about the Joker, it is different. Because he's just deranged.
Yeah, he's just a crazy dude.
Yep.
And I agree with that, because a lot of time when you want to provide backstory to something, you are trying to get the reader or the watcher to empathize with who you are talking about in some kind of manner, no matter, good or bad. Because even if you say, like, this person's done, like, this person accidentally ran over, like, 3 rabbits with their car, and you're like, I did too. I'm a bad person. No, I don't want that in my life. No, so I don't want to have any sort of feeling of sympathy for these people that are designed specifically to kill a large amount of people with no sympathy.
So there is a counter to that. Someone replied to that one and said, it also created antagonists that can't be reasoned with or even really understood, which makes them terrifying in a different sense. Sure, they're not chilling geniuses like Hannibal Lecter, but there's something creepy about having no idea what the villain is thinking or driven by.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is very well worded.
Yes. Like I told you when I found these, I like these particular ones that I found because they articulate what I'm thinking much better than I ever could.
And it's funny, I don't have these complex thoughts about these movies until afterwards. When I'm watching them, I don't give a damn about what else is like. What is Michael Myers thinking about? Does he have Tiny Tim singing in his head? I don't kind of consider anything like that. Tiptoe through the... Yeah, anyway. So it's really interesting kind of doing this because it's giving kind of college vibes, but 2, it's giving me a chance to think a little bit more about these movies instead of just kind of
from
pushing
a different
them into the
perspective.
That too, but like instead of just pushing them into the Rolodex to be forgotten about later on.
This one says, in many ways, despite being seen as a slasher, it's really not. The focus isn't the kills, but rather the tension, something which was very Hitchcockian. For instance, when the girl's boyfriend is killed, and you know it's Michael under the bedsheet pretending to be a ghost, you know what's going to happen, but Carpenter draws it out. It becomes a win, not an if. That's what this does well, and other slashers ignore.
Yeah, I mean, because you're not going to get a kill shot like that with Jason. No way.
Or with Freddy.
Or even with Freddy. I mean, he loves to draw them out, but he's always, like, provoking blood and, like, hurting them. And Michael, he doesn't hurt them until he kills them, in which case they're just dead. Except for Annie.
I'm glad she died.
Me too.
So this one kind of brings up what I mentioned about the mask. It says it walks a delicate line between a mortal villain and a supernatural entity, always keeping you in doubt what kind of being the killer really is. And it is very careful in how it shows the villain, often obscuring him, having him emerge from the darkness, or having him lurk in the background. Its only real flaw, in my opinion, is the brief moment near the end where the killer's face is briefly shown. That, I think, was a mistake. The strength of having a masked villain is that it dehumanizes him and makes him seem faceless. To then reveal the face anyway, however briefly, kind of ruins that mystery. I wonder if John Carpenter regrets putting that shot in.
Can we do a viral Twitter question? Twitter asks John Carpenter video, please. Can those people do that? You know those videos where the celebrities answer. John Carpenter answers the questions.
Somebody get on that.
Can we get John Carpenter on the show?
We could totally do that.
I think we've got the connections.
Oh yeah, we totally have the connections to do that. Let me just call him up right now.
Yeah, beep beep beep.
So, opinions, thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I'm still like, okay, I love this shot of like Laurie taking the mask off because it's kind of like this brief glimmer of hope of like unmasking him will maybe do something to stop him, but it doesn't.
What is he gonna do?
Scooby-Doo.
Run away like the
Scooby-Doo.
Phantom in Phantom of the Opera and be like, "Don't look at my face."
Yes, exactly like that. Actually, I'm not even trying to be funny about this. I mean, I actually think like that's what I like about that moment because it's almost Scooby-Doo. But then it continues on with its terror because it's like, no, he just pulls the mask back on and GTFO.
Yeah.
So it kind of teases you with it kind of teases you with him being unmasked and maybe being powerless, but it doesn't. And I like that. Sam, stop laughing at my opinions.
No, I think it's cute and endearing that you think something like unmasking the person that's going to kill you is going to deter them from doing that.
Scooby-Doo taught me that.
It would be different if she was going to gouge his eyes out and the mask came off on her hand in the process. Then I can understand. However, that is not what happened.
I mean, okay, so sometimes with burglaries, when people break into your house, if they're wearing a mask, if you see their face, if something happens and their mask falls off and you see their face, it can end in two ways. Either one, they're like, please, oh my God, I am not, just like, don't. I'm so sorry. Or two, they'll kill you.
Yeah, so why are you going to unmask the man who is currently trying to kill you?
Listen, I'm on my back on the ground dying anyways. Just kill me already if you're going to do it. No, you're just going to jump out the window? Great.
Actually, he didn't jump out the window?
No. He fell out the window with the gunshot. Yeah. Jump out the window.
All right. So we're going to end with this little bit because I thought it was really cool that I was able to find a Roger Ebert review from 1979. So he reviewed Halloween in 1979 because apparently from what I found online, there was a printing press strike in 1978 when Halloween was released. So I don't know if that's accurate or what have you. I was not around at the time, and if I would have been around at the time, I highly doubt I would have been old enough to read. So I just took a couple little clips from Roger Ebert's review. He said, "It's interesting how he paints his victims. They're all ordinary, everyday people. Nobody's supposed to be the star and have a big scene and win an Academy Award. The performances are all the more absorbing because of that. The movie's a slice of life that is carefully painted in drab daylights and impenetrable night times before its human monster enters the scene." And then the last little blurb I got says, "I'd like to be clear about this. If you don't want to have a really terrifying experience, don't see Halloween."
That's pretty great. I'm not a big review person, but I like that one.
As a kid, I used to love reading Ebert's reviews. I did.
I mean, it paints a very excellent picture.
It does.
It really,
We
I'm not
will
mad.
link the Reddit thread and the entire Roger Ebert review in the descriptions
Yes.
on our YouTube channel,
Yes.
so that you
And
can go read all of it in its entirety if you so wish.
And if Spotify allows, it'll be, if you're listening to this on Spotify, it'll also be in the description of this episode if Spotify will allow me to post up those links.
Awesome. All right.
So, and we do have an Instagram page up and running.
Is it up and running if nothing is posted?
Well, we were only posting the exciting stuff now. So yes, it will be up and running by the time this is up.
By the time this is up, you can probably go to our Instagram, which we will link in the description box, to watch Tim's little Beetlejuice impression.
Oh my gosh. Indeed. So definitely keep an eye out. We are consistently trying to do better with everything. I really like that section. I mean, I'm going to keep this part in. But I do enjoy like listening to the reviews of this. I'm not a review person, you know. I kind of have these stupid takes on these movies anyway, Sam. So it's like reviews don't really mean a lot to me because it's all like wordy.
Is it stupid or is it unique? I like to think that your views on this are unique.
Uneducated and unique. Thank you.
I'm the basic one. I'm the one that's going to say pretty much what everyone else has said.
Oh, heavens. Here's Timothy with his Scooby-Doo hot take.
I don't think you're Scooby. I think you're Scrappy.
Thank you.
You are Scrappy. Hey, you say thank you. Homeboy was a villain in one of the movies.
I know. I remember. That's why it was a sarcastic thank you. Sam, out of 5 jack-o'-lanterns, how would you rate this?
5. Even with the mask, I'll give it a 5.
You sound so resentful.
Well, yeah. They have how many sequels? And they unmask him in the first one.
It's pretty good.
What about you? What do you give it?
It's a 5. I own a couple of versions of this film. I have it on VHS. I don't even have it here with me. It's in my old place that needs to be moved out of. But I've got a decent horror movie VHS collection.
I'm jealous.
And I have Halloween in that rotation. And so what was it? Last year I watched it a couple of times on VHS just because having that tape graininess and the kind of whirring, the soft whirring coming from the machine, it kind of just brings me back.
So,
you know,
I love that on Shudder.
Uh-huh.
Because you can watch Halloween on Shudder.
Right.
It's grainy.
They put a filter on it. Yes.
And you can see certain things that are like true to like what it would have been like on the VHS.
Like artifacting. That's flipping great. Honestly. I do. I love this movie. I've watched it, dozens of times now. I grew up watching horror movies and Halloween was in there too, along with Nightmare on Elm Street. So this has kind of been a companion throughout the years for me. So it's definitely like, without hesitation, a 5 out of 5. It's it's a happy sigh.
All right.
Tim.
So with that happy sigh, I think it's time to wrap up this week's episode.
I think so too. I feel like I could talk about this movie a bunch.
So we are playing around with new formats, ways to make it quicker, a little more easily digestible. I don't know about you, but I listen to my podcast mostly at the gym. So under an hour is preferable. We were not making that happen.
No. So this will be our second episode with this format. Our first episode will be Beetlejuice.
Yes.
And we are very happy, like especially more happy with how these shorter episodes are. So we are hoping, and with your feedback, we're hoping that you will let us know if you like this new format, if you like these shorter episodes or not. We're still trying to get our feet about us, but we appreciate everyone for listening, for tuning in, for dealing with either of us talking about this project, as often as we physically can take it.
Yes.
But this has been honestly one of the most fun things ever. I know we're talking like this is episode 100, but I need to get this out. I'm full of love right now, Sam.
This is technically episode 6, isn't it? No.
Yes,
5.
technically.
No, technically it's 5 because it's the 5th movie.
Mm-hmm. 5th movie, 6th episode we record. Anyways.
Yeah. Sure.
This is number
Semantics.
5. So this will be, so it's every episode we put up, I feel more confident and happy with what we're doing.
Yes. But after this episode, I think it's safe to say we need to record in the mornings.
Yes. No more nighttime episodes because we are sleepy and we're old.
I am old. You are not.
Anyways. So, again, thank you everyone who is listening to this currently. I will try and cut myself off here in like a minute, but thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I do the editing of these episodes, and I hope that with every episode they get better too. So thank you again 1,000 million times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Please go out and be spooky. We'll be here waiting.